Good evening and welcome to the Magical Day Media Studio. I'm Jonathan, your host, and this is episode 1 of the Magical Day Media Show. I wanted to bring you some footage of a recent trip that I took with my wife down to Walt Disney World to celebrate our 22nd anniversary. So you'll see us talking a little bit about our resort, where we stayed, a good tip about annual pass renewal, and at the end, stick around. I've got a list of some pros and cons. We did a split stay this time where we stayed 2 nights in one resort and then switched to another resort for the second 2 nights of our stay. So I have a list of pros and cons that might be helpful to you as you're planning future vacations. If you think, maybe a split stay might be the way to go, maybe this will help you make a decision. So with that, on with the show. So here we are on the escalator, getting ready to go down.
I love escalators. It's my favorite.
What is known as the 4th happiest hallway in Disney World. I don't know why it's called that. I heard somebody say that one time walking down this hallway, that it's the 4th happiest. I'm not sure what the first 3 happy are. I can guess. Like for me, the first 3 happy ones would be, as far as hallways go, hallway 1 would be the corridor in the Palacio de Mueros for pirates. I don't know what 2 and 3 would be though. But anyway.
I like that one outside Soarin'. Soarin' in the ride. Not outside where there's like screaming children and by the bathroom, but in the ride.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Not the.
It's kind of like an airport, actually.
Well, that's what they're going for.
But nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So signing off for now from the 4th happiest hallway in all of Orlando. What are you doing? Crazy person. I'm not editing that out. Lost my train of thought. If you renewed your annual pass over the phone, you want to make sure you hold on to the certificate number that they gave you, which I did in, I think, a notebook somewhere on my phone, because you will need that to activate your pass. Otherwise, you can have the situation like I did where you think, oh, I already paid for my pass, it's linked to my Magic Band, which it already was, I'm good to go. No, you have to activate that certificate, because renewing the pass just gives you a certificate, and then you have to renew or activate the certificate that is attached to your identity, your Magic Band. So, yeah, at guest services at any one of the parks or Disney Springs. So, there's your public service announcement. Enjoy the heat. So, greetings from the Boardwalk Resort. We just arrived. We have not stayed in a room on the 2nd floor before. I forgot that the lobby is actually on the 2nd floor. So that was a nice little surprise to not have to get on the elevator. And we are DVC members, and we opted to be on the Boardwalk side this time. So I'm going to reverse the camera around here, and theoretically, do it old school. So here's the view from our patio. If you are Boardwalk side on the 2nd floor, and I think it costs maybe a point more per night if you're a DVC member, maybe 2 points a night. It is not a significant difference, at least this time of year in July, but totally worth it, especially when this is going to be all lit up at night. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So if you get opportunity to stay on the 2nd floor at Boardwalk, definitely go Boardwalk view. It's the way to go. Any other thoughts, Lovey?
This is gorgeous. I had no idea that.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize you got Boardwalk side. So
yeah,
I'm so excited. It's really, really pretty, and can't wait to see it at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as an aside, I've never been here when the Boardwalk games were going on, but right outside our room, they got a carnival-style games opening up. Looks like for the evening, getting ready for the night, just starting to open up. The hoop toss and all the other games where you lose your money to try and win a very cheap little stuffed toy. But so
the carnies look not scary.
Not
also,
well.
Which is important because it's Disney.
Yeah, they're Disney plays.
Like if you go to the state fair and you're like,
yeah, Yeah.
These are better.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Definitely not sketchy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, good times. So I wanted to give a quick room tour of where we're staying at Boardwalk. Again, or maybe for the first time, this is a DVC room. We're on the second floor. This is one of the suites that sleeps 5. So you have queen size bed and full size sleeper. And then in the table, that table will actually fold down, and then you can pull it down, and it's a trundle for the kiddos. I'm sure you've seen 8,000 videos already that show that. Anyway, so that's our take. But great little room, just a drawers inside there, and then as is customary with the DVC studios, a kitchenette, microwave, nice little fridge with our great presentation. So, okay, so in the park now. We're hoofing it to a fast pass. First time in the park for me in, what, 6 months now? It's been forever. And, what do you think, Mama Bear? How long it's been? How's it feel to be back in the park finally?
Hot.
Hot? Okay.
No, I mean it's good.
I can tell. I can tell by your excited voice.
I'm excited to taste them.
All right. So here we are. If we weren't running late for our fast pass, we'd be dancing a jig in Canada, I think.
Can we all agree that they really need to have Keanu Reeves do the new O Canada video? It's going to be too windy to use.
That's been my thought the whole time. Is it needs to be Keanu doing that. Except it'd just be a lot of, whoa, Canada.
Whoa, Canada.
Huh?
Whoa,
Like that?
Canada.
All right, we'll leave you with that. Nice shot of the boardwalk. In my opinion, one of the prettiest of the resorts on property. Even if you don't stay here, it's worth coming over just to experience it. But at night, it is just next level. Just next level. Let's zoom in a little bit. So see right behind there the Swan, of course. And the boardwalk area starts at the Atlantic Dance Hall there. Then over to Jelly Rolls, the dueling piano bar. And then this section with the different colored buildings is the DVC area. And then you'll see a transition over to white buildings. And that is the, I think they call it the Inn. So that's going to do it for live in-park footage, or resort footage as it is. Thanks for sticking with me. Wanted to come back and just mention a couple of things. I got to look at my notes, excuse me. I have a pro and con list about doing a split stay, like I mentioned before in the beginning. Also realized that I never took video or mentioned where we stayed on our resorts. Of course, you saw footage from the first resort. We stayed at the Boardwalk, and the second resort was Saratoga Springs. Both excellent resorts. My wife and I are DVC members, and so we did make this stay on points. And that's the reason for the split stay. If you're not familiar, when you book with DVC points, you can book out 11 months ahead of time at your home resort. Neither one of those resorts is our home resort. And then you can book at the 7-month window if it's not your home resort. Well, I didn't book until about 3.5, 4 months before this trip. So there were not enough nights in one hotel for this trip. That's why we did the split stay. So we thought we'd do the experiment and try it out. With regard to Boardwalk, well, first let me say, I've had opportunity to stay at both of these resorts before this trip. We stayed at Boardwalk as a family last year and really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it again this time. And then I stayed at Saratoga on a solo trip earlier this year and really enjoyed it as well. The layout of the Saratoga room is very similar to what you saw of the Boardwalk room. You have the bed there in the room, and then you also have a fold-out sleeper sofa. There is, however, no Murphy bed, so it really will only sleep 4 comfortably. You can probably get a crib in there or a playpen if you have a little tiny kiddo, but there's not like another Murphy bed like there was in the Boardwalk room. Polynesian has a similar layout too. as well as some of the other resorts. But with that said, that's the main difference between the two. But the layout of the room is very, very similar, almost identical. I can tell you that as far as convenience factor goes, Boardwalk is far and away much better because it is so close to the International Gateway, just like Yacht and Beach Club. It's right there on the lake, right behind Epcot, and it's walking distance, maybe a 5-minute walk if you're kind of strolling. It's a really, really short walk to the International Gateway. And if you are able to ever stay in any one of those 3 resorts, you are, of course, going to pay a premium because they're deluxe resorts, but it's totally worth it because of that walk and the convenience to the park. I totally recommend doing it. They're beautiful resorts. You will not regret staying there. With Saratoga, it's the kind of place that I like staying at on a solo trip. When I go to Disney World, I tend to go, rope drop to park close, see the kiss goodnight kind of thing. So it's really a place just to sleep. So it doesn't really matter to me because I'm going to take the bus in first thing and I'm going to take the bus out last thing. If you're going to go back and forth to the resort, if you take a break during the day, especially if you have a family, you really need to bake in a lot of extra time, at least an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, just to get back and forth to your room. Because with Saratoga, there's 5 bus stops on the property. So it takes a long time to get anywhere. So you really got to be ready for that. And that's a good occasion to use a minivan or Lyft or Uber, whatever your rideshare of choice is. I can say there are some good times to use those judiciously, and we'll talk about those in another video. But for now, I just wanted to let you know about that, and also let you know just some pros and cons about doing a split stay. So I'm going to have to refer to my notes. So when I'm looking off camera, that's what I'm looking at here. So we'll start off with the cons. I like to get the hard stuff out of the way first. So if you're thinking about doing a split stay, one of the cons is just the repacking. You get there, and to give some context, my wife and I were there for 4 nights. So we were 2 nights in Boardwalk, 2 nights in Saratoga Springs. So we got there, just got, kind of comfortable in the room, and then we had to pack back up. So the repacking is definitely a tough thing. I would battle against this by using packing cubes. Kind of keeps everything neat and tidy, without having to take it out of your suitcase, put it in the drawers, or even just dig through your suitcase and then get everything, wrinkled and kind of messed up, in your suitcase when you're looking for stuff. So if you're going to do that, I would definitely recommend spending the probably $20 on Amazon to get some packing cubes to go inside your suitcase. Definitely makes it a lot easier. The second thing is, the second con is it's tough for families. Again, it was just my wife and me. It was not difficult because obviously we were both able to take care of ourselves and pack ourselves. We didn't have any problem. If you have anything that would prevent you from packing yourself, or everyone in your party from packing yourselves, real little kiddos, anything like that would just make it a little bit tougher, it's just build in some extra time. Just know that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. Of course, doable, but it does make it a little bit tougher. Plus, on your transfer day, when you're going in between the resorts, the same check-in times apply. You're out of your room until you can check in at 3 p.m. that afternoon. So if your custom is to go back to the hotel for a nap after lunch, that's not going to happen in your hotel room. So just kind of bake in some time for that. That's a really good day to do like a water park or someplace where you can kind of lay low for a little bit. The third thing that's a con is my family and I, when we go, we take advantage, and this is, of course, speaking mostly of the DVC rooms with the kitchenette, and I'm talking about the deluxe studios. But taking advantage of the kitchenette or the fridge that comes in most rooms now, we order some groceries from Instacart. That's who we use. Of course, there's tons of grocery delivery services there in the Orlando area. And we have them drop it off with Bell Services, and then we pay, I think it's a nominal fee. I think it's $6 or $7, I believe they add on to the room charge to deliver it to you. We'll order some waters, some iced coffee for the morning instead of making a pot of coffee, yogurt, things like that. We like to do breakfast on the go, so that doesn't slow us down getting into the park. But you'd have to place 2 Instacart orders because you're staying at 2 hotels. The next con, and this is really something that was just unique to this trip, because of how it worked out with where rooms were available and when. We moved from the Boardwalk, which in our opinion is a better hotel, only for the convenience to the park. We moved from one hotel to a hotel that was much further away. And so we had to spend a lot more time taking the bus and waiting on buses and driving around, things like that. So if you can, maybe save that hotel that's going to be more convenient to the park or has those amenities that you're looking forward to the most. Save that to your second hotel. Another con here, and this is just me. I like to get to the Disney parks, and I like to think about as little as possible. I want to manage as little as possible. So even though the value isn't always there in like a dining plan, I like to have the dining plan just because it's one less thing I have to think about. And so that's just an example. With a split stay, it's just one more thing that you have to manage, one thing you have to be on top of. You got to make sure everything's packed and ready to go and all the things I mentioned before. Just one more thing you have to manage on your vacation. And the last item that I put on my con list is that it's two separate reservations. So unless you're going directly through Disney Travel to book it, and what I mean specifically is if you are booking it yourself on the website, you have to treat it as though it's two separate reservations. So it's two hotel reservations, which is not difficult, except if you're booking Magical Express. It's best to call Disney directly and set that up so they know exactly what's going on. They can manage that in the system for you. If you're doing a Disney dining plan, you actually have to buy two Disney dining plans, one for each of the reservations. And then you have to manage all of those meals, all of those snacks, make sure that's all, you stay on top of all of that. If you use the refillable mugs, you're going to get a refillable mug for each separate reservation. So just those things that come with it, it's just, again, like I said in the last point, it's just one more thing to manage and kind of stay on top of. Not a deal breaker. Just get your head right for that and make sure that you know what's coming. If you use, say, a third-party travel agency or you call Disney Direct to book your vacation, obviously they can help you out with those things, but you are still going to have to be the one to manage those things. So with the cons out of the way, let's jump over to the pros. In the pros, if you're doing late booking, it's always good to keep your options open. Like I said, this was a late booking for us. We usually try and book at the very latest, that 7-month window, whenever we use our points. But whether we're going out of pocket or staying at our home resort, obviously we'll book as far out as we can. So this was booked really, really late for us, but it gave us the opportunity to go on a trip that we were able to go, kind of light and easy and not have to worry about taking a bunch of stuff and not have to worry about, a bunch of expectations being met. We just knew that we wanted to be at Walt Disney World, and we were fine with the split stay, and we were fine with managing all those extra things. So it worked out really well for us. It also gives you the opportunity to use fewer points. If you are going to stay or want to stay at a more expensive hotel, so for any DVC members, if you're using points or even if you're paying cash, it gives you the opportunity to stay at one of the hotels that might be a nicer hotel or maybe something that's kind of been a dream of yours to stay at for a long time without necessarily using it for your whole stay, but maybe for a night or two of your stay. And you don't spend quite as much money, but you still get to enjoy that particular resort, again, without quite as much layout of points or of cash. You also get to try new places. Again, the same kind of thing, like I just said. Maybe it's an experience that you wanted to have before, but whether it's time, money, or just other circumstances, you weren't able to experience it before. And so you get to try out a new resort that maybe you've not stayed at before. And then, of course, you get the opportunity to be closer to the parks. I mentioned before with Boardwalk that it is the walking distance to the International Gateway. Right now, that's a really nice thing. When it gets really crowded with the Skyliner, who knows what that's going to be like. But again, it's still walking distance to Epcot. So again, one less thing to worry about. It's a really nice way to get to do that. And so you can build your vacation based on that. If you tend, like I do, to spend one full day in one park and that's it, even though you can hop around from park to park, just to minimize time on the roads and waiting for buses and so on and so forth. Maybe save your Epcot day when you're staying at Boardwalk or Yacht and Beach or whatever the case may be. Or save your Magic Kingdom day for when you're staying at Polynesian or Grand Floridian or Contemporary. You've probably already thought these things through, but I bring them up for your benefit now. And the last item on my pro list for this is the bag transfer. All that said and all of that about managing your vacation, it is one more thing to do. But the saving grace there is that you're dealing with the Disney Corporation, and they don't do anything halfway. And they are so good to work with to help you out, get you where you need to go, get your things where they need to go. So for one of these split stays, all you have to do is by 10 a.m., you need to take your bags down to the Bell Services desk at the hotel where you're staying and give them your bags, and you say, hi, I would like these taken to, such and such resort. Make sure you have your name tags on your bag, and they'll take it for you, and they'll transfer it between hotels for you. And then when you arrive at your new hotel later that night or afternoon, just call down to Bell Services, and they'll bring your bags to you. Of course, you will need to tip them, but it's a free service that they offer. You do not pay for that service. At least as of this recording, you don't pay for that service. So it is really, really nice to deal with Disney in that respect. They really are taking care of you. So I hope that gives you some information about a split stay. It's something that I've never considered before. I've heard some other people talking about it in podcasts I listen to, and thought I would give it a try and kind of experiment with it a little bit. And I wouldn't do it every time, and I probably wouldn't do it if I had my family. I have 2 sons. I probably wouldn't do it if it's all 4 of us. But if it's just me, or if it's me and my wife and that's it, I wouldn't hesitate to do it again, especially if I'm doing just kind of a last minute trip. I think it's a great way to maximize points or dollars spent on a room and maximize time. So with that, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Please be sure you like and subscribe, hit that bell to get those notifications, and make it a magical day. Thanks a lot.